Good but cheap plastering tools. Where can I buy plastering tools? How do I get a cheap trowel? How can I buy a cheap hawk? I want plastering tools that are going to last. These are lots and lots of the comments that we've had from DIY Doctor over the last few years, and we started a search about 4 years ago for what we would call a medium quality range of medium duty range of tools. And we've come up with the idea of DIY Doctor's bargain buckets. This is a plastering bargain bucket and contains everything that you need to plaster a wall. We haven't gone for the cheapest because the cheapest lasts 5 minutes. We've gone for medium range tools that will last you a lifetime if they're treated properly, but at the same time they're not as expensive as the tradesman's tools that we use. But having said that, we'd be quite happy to use this stuff. So let's run through the plastering bargain bucket, and the first thing that we have put into the bargain bucket is something that we use all of the time at DIY Doctor, and it's carpet protector. It's sticky backed plastering protector. I think this is a 25-metre roll. You simply roll it out and it protects your carpet, protects your walls, protects your floors, protects your kitchen units, whatever. And the good thing about this, it doesn't slip as dust sheets do. So that's a roll of carpet protector. And secondly, before we get round to plastering, obviously we've got to mix it up. Plaster contains a lot of lime, so we've put some safety stuff in our bargain bucket. Some safety specs, funky specs there. Some latex gloves and a mask. Plaster dust is very, very fine, so you need to protect yourself from that dust. A very solid mixing paddle. There are so many cheap mixing paddles on the market, a lot of plastic ones. Some people try and buy paint mixing paddles because they're much cheaper. They simply don't do the job. If you're going to plaster properly, you don't want any lumps, you want it really mixed well. This is the paddle to do that. Simply goes into your own electric drill and away you go to mix your plaster up. To make sure that your plaster is mixed consistently, you need the same amount of plaster in the same amount of water every time. The bucket that comes with this kit is graduated on the inside, so you can put the same amount of water in there every single time, and a scoop will allow you to measure the amount of plaster you put in. So once you've created your first mix, you'll be able to create every single mix exactly the same, and that's so important when you're plastering. The main tool, of course, is the Plasterers Float. Well, we looked at lots of different floats, and the best float that we found actually came as part of a 5-piece trowel set. So as well as the plastering float that you get here, that, as I said before, we would use a good quality plastering float. As a kind of bonus, you also get a bricklayer's trowel, a gauging trowel, a pointing trowel, and a jointing iron. So if you're going to build a barbecue or whatever, you can use that to joint up your brickwork. You can find out more about that on the website. So a great quality trowel set as well. And then, last but not least, the Plasterers Hawk. A lightweight aluminium hawk, great quality, very, very robust, but at the same time very light. We like this one particularly because it's got a padded handle, so you're not going to get blisters on your hand when you're plastering all day, and if you're not used to this sort of stuff, that can happen. So a great quality, a very robust Plasterers Hawk, and of course the bucket itself, 28-litre bucket, as I said before, graduated on the inside so that you can measure your water, so you'll need that for mixing, you'll need it for clearing up, and everything fits nicely into it in the corner of the garage. That is your bargain bucket from DIY Doctor. You can see the price that we're charging as well as the retail price at the end of this video, and we hope that you'll enjoy using it.